Well, for once, we have breaking news of a positive sort. Vance Boelter, the Trump voter and MAGA assassin who shot and killed a Democratic lawmaker and her spouse, and shot and wounded another Democratic lawmaker and his spouse, was finally apprehended by law enforcement in the biggest manhunt in the history of Minnesota, as evidence continues to mount about this man's right-wing lunacy and Trump allegiance. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, I'm going to let this clip from Governor Tim Walz play, and then I'll see you on the other side.
Good evening. After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Boelter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone.
So this is excellent news. This is breaking news of a positive sort, even under very grim circumstances. Nonetheless, this right-wing radical threat to other Democratic lawmakers and other people has at least been brought to justice. Now, the evidence continues to mount about this person's right-wing allegiance and his opposition to the Democratic Party, because, of course, the right wing across social media, and this is being perpetuated by prominent MAGA influencers, is that actually this person is somehow a false flag operative, somebody that they claim was employed by Tim Walz to attack other Democrats. I mean, the conspiracy theories from the right on this are insane, even by right-wing conspiracy standards. I mean, you got to think the right wing created QAnon, right, and Pizzagate. Well, this is right up there with them, if not more insane than that. Now, we played, or rather we discussed in a video yesterday, the various pieces of evidence confirming that Vance Boelter was a Trump-supporting far-right anti-abortion lunatic. But again, this is his roommate and best friend, reaffirming this idea that this guy is somehow a secret Democrat is insane.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. He because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about those. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Tim Walz?
Didn't like Jim Biden. But
Tim Walz? What would you say about him?
Well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Well, I don't like this that Tim Walz did this. I don't like that he did that.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for yesterday?
He never mentioned the protest.
What did
What
he
do
think
you
of
make
Trump?
of everything that's happened here and the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he can be taken alive, because he's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down, but I don't know where he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to InfoWars, but I kind of said, well, it's like 50% truth. And I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say, if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. You like Trump? I like Trump. And,
So there you have it. Okay, again, additional evidence, voter registration records from way back when had him registered as a Republican. As far as I'm aware, he's never been registered as a Democrat. He is a far-right evangelical Christian. The list of names, I mean, the two people that he shot were Democrats. The list of victims or potential victims on his list were all Democratic lawmakers as well, including Governor Walz and Senator Tina Smith and Representative Ilhan Omar. So again, as far as right now, there is no evidence to suggest that he's liberal or a Democrat or a leftist. He is a far-right, anti-abortion, Trump supporter and Trump voter. So, and yet, the far-right conspiracy theories continue to take effect because MAGA knows this is a terrible look for them. All they would have to do is just denounce the violence, be like, hey, listen, this guy does not represent the MAGA movement. We condemn this in no uncertain terms. MAGA, if you have beef with Democrats, you simply vote him out of office. But no, instead, they just want to pretend that he's somehow, a plant, right? He can never take accountability. They said the same thing about January 6th. Remember that insurrection was actually fomented by Antifa and radical leftists in the FBI, right? They just can't own the fact that their movement is I'm just going to be super unnecessarily charitable to MAGA at the moment, even though I don't typically recommend this. But, you would think that if you're a MAGA Republican, an honest one, just admit that your movement has flaws and faults and that there are people in your movement who are terrible, awful people. Every mass movement has terrible, awful people, and it shouldn't be that difficult to acknowledge, especially when the evidence is so incontrovertible, but they can't do it. The party of personal accountability has abandoned all of that for the sake of this messianic delusion about Donald Trump. And because Donald Trump is God and perfect, therefore anybody who follows Trump must also too share in his perfection. It's a really gross, quasi, pseudo-religious angle to it that deserves nothing but your contempt. I want to play another clip from Governor Walz here.
Spare no expense and no work to make sure that happens. A moment in this country where we watch violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country. And each and every one of us can do it. Talk to a neighbor rather than arguing. Debate an issue. Shake hands. Find common ground. This is who Melissa Hortman was. In the first negotiating session that I had a chance to work with her, she got all the partners in the room, and she provided each and every one of us a copy of a book called Getting to Yes. And the whole premise was debating with a sense of goodwill, a sense of trying to come to compromises that serve everyone. And because of her, we did that. Because of her, we did that year after year after year. That's the embodiment of how things are supposed to work. It's not about hatred. It's not about mean tweets. It's not about demeaning someone. It's leading with grace and compassion and vision and compromise and decency. That was taken from us in Minnesota with the murder of Speaker Hortman. So for each and every one of us to truly honor, and we will continue to honor that spirit, but we will need to do it in just more than actions in a memorial. Conducting ourselves in the spirit that Melissa Hortman did her work is what the country needs to hear.
So listen, do I think at times political rhetoric gets out of control? Yes, I do. I think it is predominantly on the right. The shit that Donald Trump has said about liberals, progressives, blue cities, blue states, women, marginalized groups, minorities, the LGBTQ, the media, there's just no equivalent of that in the Democratic Party or on the left. I'm sorry, there's not. I'm not going to pretend that there is. And anyone who disagrees is welcome. You've got my email is public, josiah@ponderingpolitics.com. You can leave a comment here. We're free to have that debate. I will always win. You will always lose because Trump is disproportionately cruel in his rhetoric and prolific in his cruelty. For every one instance you can find of a Democratic lawmaker talking shit about Republicans in a way that could be considered cruel or even mean, the ratio of MAGA Republican, I mean, not just Trump, my God, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's just heavily lopsided in one issue. And here's how I look at it, because I can get pretty harsh in my rhetoric as well, unapologetically. If you feel a certain type of way about a political movement, as I genuinely do, about Trump and MAGA. I think MAGA is an authoritarian death cult of personality with no limiting principle. I think it is a threat to democracy. I will not change my views on that because they're sincerely held. You can, if you're on the right and you feel that way about the Democratic Party, I disagree, but you're entitled to that opinion. I think you'll always lose the debate on it, but you're entitled to that opinion. And yet you can also go out of your way to say, and yet in a functioning democratic republic, we forfeit any sort of right to vigilantism. People don't have the right to commit political violence against their political opponents, period. So while I feel the way that I do about Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and MAGA, that they're threats to democracy, that they're cruel, that they deserve the contempt of the American people, I don't think that the American people have any right to commit violence against any of them. And likewise, I wish MAGA would just clarify that as well, you know, in their rhetoric. Like they could say, like, hey, we don't like liberals or we don't like progressives for whatever reason, but you know what? We think that they have every right to be safe and we condemn any violence against them. And if any of you are MAGA and you're fans of ours and you're considering violence against liberals and leftists, absolutely not. We condemn it. You're not supposed to do it. Like there's a way to thread this needle. I think some people are like, okay, we'll turn the temperature down in the sense that lie about your political opponent. So I hope that that's not what people take away from this. I hope, like Governor Walz, for example, Governor Walz has said recently that when it comes to people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, it's okay to bully them. And I agree. Now, without breaking the law, right? So you can't, break the law. You can't attack or threaten them or anything like that. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. But it's okay to be mean to the meanest people in the history of modern politics. I don't think Democrats and liberals are obligated to just be kind to the cruelest people who have extraordinary power in the history of the United States. So please understand that there is a line to walk here for both sides. If you think the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy, or if you're like me and you think the modern day Republican Party is as well, you're not obligated to lie because you're afraid that telling the truth will incur violence. Just go out of your way to condemn violence. Make it clear that you want to see the opposition defeated in an election, which is what I want. I want every Republican lawmaker to be out of office. I want them to lose every damn election. I want this to be a Republican-free polity in terms of local, state, and federal government because they lose elections. That's it. Lose elections. Let's beat them at the ballot box. And Republicans should be advocating for that as well and condemning violence on their side. But unfortunately, we're getting these deranged right-wing conspiracy theories that actually, again, this guy is a false plant, even though he's a Trump supporter, Trump voter who hated Walz, who hated Democrats, who is radically, I would say pro-life, but given that he's a murderer, pro-forced birth, who targeted Democratic lawmakers. And instead of just dealing with that fact and acknowledging that this person represents, even if they want to say it's a fringe element of the MAGA movement, fine, say that, but he's yours. Just say, this doesn't represent us. We condemn this in no uncertain terms, and whatever. Be more thoughtful about your rhetoric. Maybe condemn violence more. I don't know. Maybe that would be a good start, but the conspiracy theories instead are persisting even as the facts continue to contradict it. But that's textbook MAGA for you. Anyway, that's good breaking news in the sense that this man is off the streets. He has been brought to justice, at least at the moment. I'm sure there's going to be a trial as well. He's entitled to all the constitutional rights as any other person. But yes, this far-right, pro-forced birth, anti-Democrat, Trump-supporting MAGA assassin of a Democratic lawmaker and her husband has finally been arrested. That's what we have. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.